decided to sit in on the segment. She just bum rushed or whatever, didn't ask permission, nothing. She just decided, I'm going to get on camera. I want to be a superstar. So she just came and stuff. So, you know, she had to, we'll work for food sign out. And so we decided to go ahead and be a blessing to her and allow her to be a part. See how nice we are?
You guys are a blessing.
But just, you get a bag of Cheetos at the end.
Thank you.
Yes.
I love Cheetos.
And some pork rinds to wash it down. What, pork rinds aren't good?
Not to wash anything down.
What, you put hot sauce on it, and then like it helps with the
continue.
You know, but
with indigestion.
And Joyce is in the house.
Yay.
Yes, the enlightened one.
The enlightened one, yes. I'm trying.
18 years in education.
18 years, yes, 18 years in education.
I'm talking about these young people these days. They just quit. You know,
They
after
do.
18 years, just
They
quitting
done?
on us, whatever, just throwing in the towel. I don't understand, but
I didn't throw in the
Thank you.
she just said, "I just got me a bigger towel."
Well, no, I wanted to inspire millennials.
Okay.
Okay.
To follow their heart and follow their dreams. Okay, is it okay if I tell you this story?
Absolutely.
Okay, now, true story. I was working with some students, and we were working on a career project. And I said, okay, think about your wildest dreams. Okay?
Wildest dreams.
Yep. Whatever, do not believe that you cannot do it. Know that you can do it. And that's what I want you to focus on. So we were working on this project for a few weeks, and I was getting on a couple of little men who weren't focusing. So one of the guys looked at me and said, "You're always telling us to live our dreams. When are you going to live yours?" Bam.
Busted.
Wow.
Bam.
Got him.
Bam.
I went right to look in the mirror.
There you go.
Look in the mirror.
And around the same time, my daughter, who's a teenager, said to me, "Mama, you always talked about writing books and doing different things. You gave everything up for Daddy. Now look at you." Because by that time I was divorced. Bam! What you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Get some soap and wash out her mouth.
No. You take your medicine like a champ.
You take your medicine like a champ and you say, you know what? I am wrong. Like I had to do the Michael Jackson thing. I had to examine the woman that was in the mirror and I had to change my ways.
Wow.
Very
And a
good.
little child shall lead them.
There you go, right?
Yes.
Right out of the
That's
mouth
it.
of babes
That's
comes
right.
the truth. Yeah,
That
so
is
that's
so
what
true.
happened to me.
So did you give the little boys a good grade since he called you out?
Well, I
was
gave him the grade that he earned. However, he's a millennial. Or, do you call him millennial?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So he's a millennial. So when I told them I was leaving teaching, and they were like, "Well, what are we going to do?"
They miss you.
I said, "Well, look for me. I will be around. But you've challenged me. Now I have to rise up to the challenge because
Wow.
if I don't answer their calling, then they won't believe that they can do
it on their own.
So yeah, so that's what happened.
Wonderful.
Wow.
But that's amazing
Now-
the way you looked at it, you know?
Yeah. Now, did the kids know what your desires were, or was that just the anointing flowing through him?
Well, of
calling
course,
you out?
yeah, they had asked me, well, what did you want to be when you grow up? When you grew up, when you were our age. And to be honest, I wanted to be a scientist. Either I was going to study the micro, being under a microscope, or I wanted to study the ethers.
Is that code for stripper?
No.
No, I just wanted to clarify because sometimes people will throw code words out there. So I just,
Look at Joyce.
you
She
know
ain't
what?
throwing a cold word.
I
just, you know, I don't
I do
know,
like
you know.
to shake what my mama gave me.
Okay, see, that's what I'm
Wait a
talking
minute
about.
now.
That's the
Wait a
anointing
minute
that's
now.
flowing
But
through and
I don't
coming
want to
out.
get paid
you know.
for it because I do it for fun and exercise.
Do it for free.
Okay.
That's right.
For fun.
No.
This evening in the WDRB Media Studios,
We
the
still looking for
Profit
men.
and Growth Hour After Dark.
After dark.
Yes, that's the X-rated show. Yeah,
Lord,
come back,
no.
stay tuned for more.
We'll be hosting.
Yeah, that's right.
By himself. Mom, that ain't me. So,
I have my own disco ball. Okay.
So yeah, so that's what happened. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, that's the disco ball. Oh, well,
yeah.
what you? Don't be. What you doing?
Disco balling.
Okay. I just want to check. She disco balling?
Yeah.
Because you know how they hold up two fingers and stuff behind
No,
you?
you
Rabbit
said your own
ears?
disco ball.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure. I don't know if I trust you or not. So,
I ain't
you
gonna
know.
be here after dark. I'm just saying, you got your ball.
That's because your little parole thing is up and you got a little bracelet on. You got to go back
So?
home and you got to be home by a
Judge
certain
not.
time. What? But you could say you got a night job, right? And then they'll let you like come out at night. Is that how it works? I don't know how it works.
Joyce.
I thought only the freaks come out at night.
okay.
Wasn't that sad?
That is
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
That's
And
right.
me and Rakim, was that it?
Mm-hmm.
So literally, we
Okay.
know why we can't find you.
After the street lights come on,
That's why
have
Mama
your
said
butt
then.
right there on the porch.
Mama said nothing
That's
good
right.
happened after midnight.
That's after midnight. I got after like the street lights came on. So that
I
was
used
it
to
for
take
me.
I would take the trash out when the street lights came on, cause all my friends got to hang outside. You know, we
Yeah.
was just beatboxing and, you know, doing our LL Cool J lyrics.
You don't beatbox.
I do the lyrics. I'm not the beatboxer.
You don't do lyrics either.
Oh, what? I'm a summer. I'm a doom, and I'm gonna never get wet when I retire. I'll be worshipped like an old battleship. Don't test me.
Booyah!
What else can you do that we don't
I know, right?
Okay,
Such
see?
talent over
Yes, we just draw out the best of people.
Right.
Yes.
Creativity, enlightenment.
That's right.
You see how it comes with revive?
So accomplished.
It's a revival here.
I'm gonna take out my calculator. Add some numbers. Talk to us about what it is that you now do, that you have become enlightened and are living your dream and your passion.
Well, number one is bringing awareness to mental health. Now, a lot of kids suffer from anxiety and depression, but we need to normalize it. I was in a sociology class in college, and one of my professors talked about children going through identity crisis around their senior year because now you're becoming independent. And so I went through a degree of anxiety and depression during that time period, but nobody told me that it was okay and it was normal. And so as a teacher, you see that as children transition from one phase of life to the other, they do go through certain uncertainties, anxieties, and depression, but we need to let them know that, hey, this is normal. There is nothing wrong with you, and as adults, we need to help them through it. Now, there are times when there are life events. Now we're calling them adverse childhood experiences or ACEs in education and in the medical field that exacerbate certain things in life, but we need to let people know that it is okay, that you will be okay to prevent certain things from happening to people, like people wanting to commit suicide or people not wanting to embrace medication and therapy and things like that, and particularly in the African American community, because in our community we think that if you admit to a mental illness or if you admit that there's something going on in your life that is creating a little turbulence and you seek help, that you're crazy. But you're not crazy. Sometimes we do need help to transition from one phase to the next, and particularly if we're in a crisis.
Or you have those that are in the church that just believe you're gonna pray it out,
Right.
Exactly.
or a big mama that's gonna beat it out. So
I like that you said that, though, because a lot of people don't know that they're suffering from depression or anxiety until you actually Google your symptoms or something like that, or talk to someone and get help. So the fact that you want to bring awareness to that is a good thing, especially for younger kids, because it's like between the age of 18 and 24 when you really hit that period where you're just angry all the time, you know, and you don't even know what it's for or what it is, or like
So
it's a
you were
transition.
angry during that period of time?
Yes, because you don't know, you're graduating from high school and then you're entering to the real world, so they don't prepare you all the way for that. So you're kind of confused if you don't have a support from like a mentor or guidance counselor or therapy. Then you just need help. I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna recommend you.
So is that what happened to you?
Yeah, and then art really helped me express myself and become more aware of what I like to do. I like to be creative. If I'm not being creative, if I'm just sitting in one spot, I will get depressed. I will be like,
So
what
you
am
were
I
that
doing
kid
with my life?
that like drew the gun?
No.
And then
No.
you had the brain splatter.
I
with
did
the-
draw a gun for one classroom
okay.
assignment. I was just like, I was very angry because he was like, just draw anything, and I couldn't think of anything. So I was like, well, let me draw a gun with blood coming out out of it.
Oh, wow.
And I look back at it, I was like,
I
wow,
knew these.
I was
I
angry.
knew this, right? See, I'm telling you, the anointing is thick up in here. This prophetic, just.
And you know what? Whenever I would see something like that in my students, the first thing I would do is sit down and have a conversation with them, because now we are aware of the fact that there's something going on with the kid. And a lot of times it's just that I need somebody to talk to, and I need somebody who's going to help guide me from this moment to the next
Yeah.
moment. But if we ignore it, it becomes
Bigger.
and then we see things
Offenses.
that are going to impact society in another way or impact other people.
I remember when I was in Germany, I worked at a daycare center. My father's military. So, we were on a military installation. And we had 2 kids in particular that literally their behavior became so, and we're talking, like 3-4-year-olds. Their behavior became so unbearable that they were like, how do you get kicked out of daycare?
I know.
At that age,
They were-
though.
right. And their first thing was to kick them out. Well, we're not in the U.S. It's not like you can send them to another daycare center. And by both parents being military, it was very difficult for them because the Army don't care. Like, do what you got to do with your kid, but you need to report here. So I said, well, let me take them in, and keep them included in a class so I could still do the work. But, they became my very own. And what I later discovered, and only by the grace of God, because I didn't study it, but when you take little Junior from Meemaw's house in the U.S. with all his cousins, all his friends, everything is in English, everybody knows everything, and you think because he's 3 or 4 that a flight in another country, dropped in another school with another language where nothing looks familiar, if you think it won't impact the child, it comes out in biting or fighting or, the behaviors that they exemplify. So from that discovery, it literally was just a matter of those children were not allowed to transition. So now the military actually helps coordinate sponsors that are almost similar to the family going to another country. So they've got little kids meeting with little kids. Your sponsor, whoever greets you when you come in country, you're almost. They try their best. It's not always successful, but they try to make sure that your receiving people are mirrored. So you've got the teenager to talk to the other teenager to say, okay, so this is what it's going to be like. I needed that coming back to the U.S.
Really?
Oh my gosh, I was so European. All of this dark chocolate was white chocolate. My nickname was Amber. Like, I did not fit in to this environment. And it took me a minute to get a running start, in the U.S. Just because I was an American, I grew up in a foreign country.
So when you
it
were
was
picking your
very
nose and
special.
scratching your butt, that
No,
was sort
that's
of
not
you.
what we Europeans do.
What? I'm just
No,
that was
sir.
you acting out and not being able to acclimate back here in the U.S.
Oh no, that's what all of my imaginary friends be. Like, my acting out was very creative.
Okay.
Who you in there talking to? Shaliqua? I told you I don't have no friends over. Be quiet, my mama coming. Sit still, she can't see you.
It's so funny.
Close your eyes, you'll be invisible.
Right. But that's something. Children have PTSD, as well. My nephew, they wanted to diagnose him with ADD, ADHD, all of these things that they have. In my field, the first thing I do is go to dietary needs. Because if you give a kid sugar, why kids have to be at school so early in the morning? Like, that makes the parents have to wake up even earlier. My nephew, the bus was coming at 6:15. School didn't start till like 7-something. Where you going? And why you can't have another bus go pick up them other kids so he could get 20 minutes of sleep?
Yeah.
But he eats sugar cereal, chocolate milk, and a Go-Gurt. So by the time school starts, he's sleepy, but you can't go to sleep. So what do kids do? They act out.
act out.
What do adults do? They diagnose and give them medication. I just had my sister change his diet, and he's never been on a single pill at all. And sometimes I think it's the parents that need the counseling because they impact the behavior of the children.
I agree.
My first book was nonfiction, and it's Enlightened Teaching, Elevating Through Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs. But a lot of what I wrote in that book is based on a book by a psychologist named Dr. Shefali Tisbari.
I watched her with Oprah.
The Conscious Parent.
The conscious, yeah.
And she said that when parents bring their kids into her practice, she says, I need to work with you first. And so as I read her book, I realized that I needed to approach parenting and teaching, both of
Wonderful.
them, in a different way, because sometimes it is me. Like, that's why I told the kid, okay, well, he's right. Let me look at me. I'm pushing you but somebody needs to push me. So that's why I didn't get angry with
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Now,
really
you had
good.
mentioned Maslow.
hmm
Talk to us about his theory.
Well, let me just tell you about Maslow. Okay, so Maslow has a hierarchy of needs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I really focus on more than anything else, my platform is on the second tier from the bottom. So the the bottom is like your basic
Your basic
physiological
needs.
needs.
Mhm.
The second tier talks about security and stability.
Okay. So you don't deal with the food, you don't deal with the shelter, which is
No.
on the first level.
Right. Society has those things, like your WIC
Sometimes.
programs, your
Okay.
Section 8.
But
your
tell them
back to
people on the
back.
street
Nah,
corner.
EBT.
They
Because
don't want it.
people
Yeah.
on the street corner, they
don't want it.
they obviously didn't get the memo.
Well, see, they're stuck because, see, if you don't take care of that second level, the stability in your mind, your employment, your finances, things like that, you'll slip down, back down to the bottom level. And or you won't be able to advance up to the higher levels. So my mission is to help people, mainly children, be able to reach self-actualization. And that is being able to be your best possible self and to reach your goals. Now, when I was at the Black Enterprise Conference this summer, a lady asked the question, well, what happens when you reach self-actualization? I said, well, you don't stay there. And the reason why you don't stay there is because as you learn more, you do better, or you may want more. And I gave her the example of a baby learning how to walk. Then the baby learns how to run. Then the baby learns how to play other sports. So self-actualization changes as we grow as people. So you don't stay there.
And you don't die.
Well, I mean, when you get to the point where so now there's another piece called transcendence. And I believe that's where I'm functioning now. When you've transcended certain things, I'm not saying all things, but I think I've transcended enough in education and an understanding of human nature and children to be able to go out now and become another type of teacher. Okay. So after, but once you get there, you're going to start going down again. And for me, I'm not claiming it for another 60 years where I'll be reaching death.
Another 60 years.
Another 60 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not 60 years old yet, but I'm just
Right.
saying.
I like how
And
you
that'll sort of put you at the age 70
Absolutely.
at that point.
Exactly.
Exactly. Okay. You and your
pretty cool.
10-year-old self.
Right. So Benjamin Button.
Yes,
You know,
black don't crack.
Exactly.
You look good.
How can people get a hold of the book and a
Well,
hold of you?
okay, now the new book that's coming out, High School Stories, Life Interrupted, that's the new one that was actually started. I started writing that to strictly talk about anxiety and depression in high school students. So I was initially going to, the book started out, I was following ninth graders all the way through their senior year and talk about anxiety and depression and how they overcame things. And diet is very important. But then when the Parkland shooting happened, I went in and I changed the book because I looked at how it was affecting the students in school, and I incorporated a murder that happened in Rock Hill last summer. So I ended the book with the kids feeling empowered, but then another murder happened to a student that I taught this summer. So I had to go in and write her because their lives have to mean something. So that book will be released on September 3rd, but it's perfect timing because September is Recovery Awareness Month. And we're talking about substance abuse and mental health when we're talking about recovery awareness.
Did you bring that up? You just made that up because your book is releasing in September. So
No,
I'm just
no,
going.
September.
I'm gonna declare this Recovery Awareness Month.
do
Yeah,
that.
Hey, I know they
People
do
do that
exactly.
all the time.
I
No.
proclaim and declare.
I believe you.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
believe you.
Let's see, the Substance Abuse Mental Health Administration, whatever. If you go on the website, it is a government agency that actually declared
Well, that's-
September
Okay.
as Recovery Awareness. I didn't make it up.
Okay.
And so
Bless
that
God.
book, you can go on my website at www.enlightened, ENLIGHTENED, teaching, TEACHING, the number 4, YOU.com, and order an early copy, and it'll be shipped to you. As of Tuesday, you'll be able to do early ordering through your bookstores. And the other book, Enlightened Teaching, Elevating Through Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs, you may order it off the website. It's on Amazon. It's in Barnes & Noble, Books of Million, all of those things.
Wow. Okay.
Family, don't go anywhere. We are here with Joyce, and I've got awfully curious about all the murderings that have been happening around her. And sometimes if people just start dropping dead around you, there are indicators that we may need to address that. So as we go to break, we will come back and discuss in more detail the deaths and the murderings that are happening that she is depicting in her book, because there are authors out there that will create their own scenarios and then write about them, like we were talking about regarding Dexter. So we will see if Joyce and Dexter are related in any kind of way. So you don't want to come back, because here on the Profit and Growth Hour, we will get to the bottom of what's happening in our society. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back. I know. Ooh, we gonna come back.
No,